The movie starts with narration on the screen. It shows that Mary, the Queen of Scotland, was born a Catholic, and her mother sent her to France to protect her from Protestant opposition. She got married to a French prince at age 15 and became widowed at age 18. In 1561, Mary returns to Scotland on a boat to meet it under the care of a regent, her Protestant half-brother, James Moray. James welcomes her and asks her if she's going to stay long. She asks James if he's asking because he wants her gone, but he denies it. After showing Mary to her chambers, James asks her bodyguard, Lord Bothwell, to leave. Lord Bothwell refuses, saying he swore an oath to Mary's mother to always protect her. James suspects that Bothwell has ulterior motives, even though Bothwell makes it clear that he's only there to do his job. Mary's return is a big threat to Elizabeth, the Queen of England, because Mary is also the rightful heir to the throne of England. A member of Elizabeth's council, Lord Randolph, informs her of Mary's return. She inquires about James from Randolph. He assures her that James is still on their side and he would protect the Protestant Church from Catholic Mary. Another member, William Cecil, fears that James won't be able to stop Mary once she ascends the throne. Randolph says that James is well connected and respected. Elizabeth instructs Randolph to send a message to Scotland that she wishes to love Mary's family, but that love must be reciprocated. Cecil suggests that Elizabeth bears an heir to stop Mary from claiming the English throne. Mary's private secretary, David Rizzio, entertains her and her maids by singing for them. She asks him to write a letter to Elizabeth, promising she won't take over the English throne if Elizabeth names Mary as her successor. She also sends her self-portrait to Elizabeth. Elizabeth secretly envies Mary and wishes to be like her. Cecil advises Robert Dudley, a council member who is Elizabeth's secret boyfriend, to marry and produce a child with her. Dudley explains that Elizabeth doesn't want to get married because she suspects every man of wanting her throne. Cecil tells him that if Mary bears a child before Elizabeth, she'll have a stronger claim to the throne. Lord Lennox asks Cecil to tell the Queen to allow him to go to Scotland and work with Mary, since he's also a Catholic like her. Cecil refuses his request and says he would only cause more chaos if he goes. Queen Mary meets with her subjects and promises to let Catholics and Protestants worship as they please. John Knox, a member of her council and head of the Church of Scotland, doesn't believe her. He feels putting Scotland under the Pope's rule will cause religious intolerance. He also opposes the idea of being ruled by a woman. Mary dismisses him from her council and he leaves. After the meeting, James begs her to consider bringing John back to the council because of his strong influence in the country. Mary refuses, stating that she won't have herself looking weak. Elizabeth sends word to Mary through Randolph that she wants her to marry an English Protestant. Mary tells him that God will determine who she gets married to, and rudely suggests that Elizabeth should get married herself. John Knox begins to warn his congregation about Mary. In a council meeting, Cecil says that Mary would want to marry a Catholic man. Randolph says that Mary has a very strong force backing her, and they need to get her married to an English councilman who would control her. Elizabeth volunteers her boyfriend, Dudley, to marry Mary. At night, Dudley tells Elizabeth that he wants to be with her, not Mary. Elizabeth insists that he marries Mary. The next day, Randolph and Dudley head to Mary's palace. Through Randolph, Elizabeth sends a letter expressing her wish for Mary to get married to Dudley, and for both queens to meet up as soon as possible. Mary tells Randolph that it's too early to talk about marriage. She demands that Elizabeth names Mary as her successor first. She also tells Randolph that he should focus on making plans for both queens to meet. On the appointed day, Mary and her escorts are on their way to meet Elizabeth when Randolph meets them. He says Elizabeth won't be coming because some French officers paid her an unplanned visit. Mary asks Randolph to spend the night with them in Scotland and keep his mistress, Beaton, who's also one of Mary's maids. A feast is held in Mary's castle that night. Beaton and Randolph make love to each other in a quiet corner. Beaton tells Mary that Elizabeth didn't receive any officers and the real reason she didn't show up is that she was sick with smallpox. Thinking Elizabeth would die soon, Mary is excited and sends a letter to her. In it, Mary indirectly states that she knows Dudley is Elizabeth's boyfriend, but nevertheless, she will only marry him if Elizabeth names her as her successor. After reading the letter, Elizabeth fears that Mary would take away her throne and her boyfriend. She runs to Dudley and shows him the letter. Dudley comforts her and promises he won't leave her for Mary. Mary and her maids dress Rizzio up as a girl. Rizzio pretends to be one and admits he feels more like a woman than a man. James tells Mary that some of their distant cousins have come to visit. The visitors are Lord Lennox and his son, Lord Darnley. Darnley explains that Elizabeth allowed him and his father to return to their native land and serve Queen Mary. Mary and Darnley take a walk. She tells him that she suspects that he and his father secretly want her throne. Darnley tells her he doesn't know if his father and Elizabeth are planning anything, but he's only interested in becoming her husband. Mary and Darnley make love to each other at night while Rizzio keeps watching. Elizabeth's counsel warns her not to let the marriage happen because both Darnley and Mary are Catholics who have a claim to the throne of England. Elizabeth says Mary already did as she asked and agreed to marry an Englishman. They suggest that she gives Dudley to Mary instead, but Elizabeth refuses. At the same time, Mary's counsel also warns her not to marry Darnley because he's an Englishman who would later take over the throne of Scotland and the nobles won't support that. Mary tells them that Darnley has accepted to be nothing more than her consort, and they should use their influence to convince the nobles to accept him. Darnley proposes to Mary at the top of a mountain and she accepts. Randolph goes to Mary's palace and tells her Elizabeth demands the return of Darnley to England. Mary tells him she would marry Darnley whether Elizabeth likes it or not. Randolph tries to convince Mary to change her mind. Mary says she won't let Elizabeth control her actions, and she's going to produce an heir to the English throne, unlike Elizabeth who is barren. Everyone in the palace is shocked by Mary's statement. She orders her guards to escort Randolph out of the palace. After Randolph leaves, James yells at Mary in front of everyone. He tells her that what she said can cause war and she should better not marry Darnley. Mary refuses to listen and James threatens to remove himself from her council. Mary tells him he's free to go, and he leaves. Cecil tries to convince Elizabeth to marry Dudley and have kids. Elizabeth says she doesn't trust men. Cecil suggests that they cause a civil war in Scotland. Elizabeth says he should do as he wishes, but she doesn't want to know anything about it. Cecil plans a rebellion against Mary with James. Mary and Darnley get married at last. During their wedding feast, Darnley gets drunk and begins to make a scene. Mary sends Rizzio to take him to his chambers. She later finds Rizzio and Darnley in bed together. Rizzio apologizes and Mary tells him he shouldn't feel sorry for his nature. She advises him to be careful so that he won't get caught. Mary finds out about the rebellion and leads her army after James. Darnley suggests that they shouldn't chase but let James and his army come to them. Mary ignores him. Bothwell suggests to Mary that they ambush James' army and she agrees. Mary's army ambushes James' army. James tries to run away but Mary sends Bothwell after him. Bothwell is about to kill James when Mary orders him to stop and let James go. Her army kills James' men. That night, Mary tries to make love to Darnley but he isn't in the mood. She tells him to think about Rizzio and he slaps her. She turns him on by hitting him repeatedly. He makes love to her and leaves after satisfying her. Mary announces her pregnancy soon after and claims the child will be an heir to both England and Scotland. Randolph confronts Mary's councilman, Maitland, over what she said. Maitland says Mary is only speaking for herself and although the council advises her to stop trying to provoke Elizabeth, she doesn't listen. Randolph says that Darnley and his father will no longer be useful once Mary gives birth. Cecil reports what Mary said to Elizabeth but she doesn't care. Randolph, Maitland, and James conspire with Lennox to make Darnley king and weaken Mary's power. While Rizzio and her maids keep her company, Darnley comes in and confronts Mary. He reminds her she promised to make him king. Mary tries to change the topic. Darnley asks her if she loves him, but she tells him she's grateful he gave her a child that would inherit 2 thrones. John starts to spread false rumors that Mary cheated on Darnley with Rizzio and says that her unborn child may be an illegitimate one. In a secret meeting with Maitland and other council members, Darnley is asked to sign a document that proclaims Mary an adulteress and condemns Rizzio to death. Darnley refuses at first, saying that Mary never cheated. Lord Lennox tells Darnley that if he doesn't sign that document, people will find out the truth that he's a homosexual who slept with Rizzio. Darnley reluctantly signs the document. Later, while Rizzio is playing a game of cards with Mary and her maids, the councilmen and some guards storm Mary's chambers and try to seize him. He runs to Mary and hides behind her for protection. Maitland brings out a knife and threatens to stab Mary's belly if she doesn't leave Rizzio. Mary reluctantly obeys and Rizzio is stabbed multiple times to death. Lennox forces Darnley to do the final stab. Bothwell suspects that they would come for him next, so he goes into hiding. Mary accuses Darnley and Maitland of conspiring against her. She tells them only death would stop her from having her vengeance. Maitland tells her she won't die. He says that James has arrived at the palace and he came to assist Darnley. Mary requests a moment alone with Darnley. Darnley lies that he had no idea they were planning to kill Rizzio. Mary manipulates him into thinking they are going to get rid of both of them next. She says they should run away in the meantime. Maitland and James ask Darnley to convince Mary to grant pardon to all those involved in Rizzio's murder. Darnley betrays them by refusing. Darnley and Mary run away to an army base. Mary orders some of her soldiers to lock Darnley up. James and Maitland meet Mary and ask for her pardon. She tells them Darnley claimed he knew nothing about their plan, but they tell her he's lying. They tell Mary about the bond. She promises to sign their pardon if they provide it, and they oblige. She forgives James and tells him she would name her son after him. Mary sends a letter to Elizabeth asking her to be her son's godmother. Shortly after, Mary gives birth to a son. Elizabeth decides to name Mary as her successor. Her council tries to advise her against it, but she doesn't listen. Mary gets the document signed by Darnley and sentences him to exile. Her council advises her to divorce him. She claims it is forbidden for Catholics to divorce, but they tell her the Church of Scotland permits it. Bothwell tells her Darnley is still plotting to overthrow her and she needs to divorce him. Mary still doesn't listen. Maitland manipulates Bothwell to kill Darnley, promising to make him king if he does so. A fire is started in Darnley's home. He manages to escape but is killed by two men just outside. Bothwell informs Mary of Darnley's death and tells her she needs to move out of the palace for her safety. She moves into one of Bothwell's houses where he informs her of the council's wish for him to marry her. Mary opposes, but Bothwell threatens to stop protecting her if she doesn't let him have his way. Mary reluctantly marries Bothwell. John begins to spread false rumors that Mary killed her husband to marry another man. He persuades his congregation to hate Mary and wish her death. Maitland and James tell Mary and Bothwell that they need to step down from the throne to avoid another rebellion. Bothwell accuses them of betraying him. James tells Mary to leave her son behind. He also says that he would assume regency of the throne till her son is old enough to become king. Mary insists that she would raise an army and fight. Mary runs to Elizabeth seeking help to raise an army. Elizabeth says she can't go to war because of a Catholic, but promises to grant her a safe haven in England. Mary tells Elizabeth she's afraid she will kill her. Elizabeth says Mary won't be killed if she doesn't conspire with her enemies. Mary says the only thing that will make her do such is if Elizabeth pushes her to do so. Mary also tells Elizabeth that if she kills her sister and her queen. Mary later stays in England. Shortly after, evidence is presented to Elizabeth that Mary is conspiring with her enemies. Elizabeth orders Mary's execution, but before doing so, she sends Mary a letter saying that even if she is innocent, Elizabeth has no choice but to sentence her to death to avoid looking weak. Before she dies, Mary prays that her son, James, would one day rule over both kingdoms and bring peace between them. The credits are displayed on the screen saying that Elizabeth never got married or had a child and ruled for about 45 years. James, the son of Mary, took over her throne after her death and became the first person to rule both England and Scotland. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.